Oh, welcome back to the other side lifestyle with Jim and Aram. Today we have our friend Ten Cat. His nickname's Ten Cat because he has lived 90 lives. Is that right? Is that now officially your nickname?
No.
So my name's Jeb. I've never had a nickname because I asked for a nickname when I was a kid, and people were like, "Dude, your name's Jeb. You don't get a fucking nickname."
Yeah, it's
Where-
is
where
that
do
the,
the-
is that
where-
the birth name Jeb? Is that short for something?
Yeah, no, it's just Jeb.
Where'd that come from?
I was named after a general from the Civil War. His name was James Ewell Brown Stuart, and so my name's Jeb Stuart Johnston. Dad was a Civil War buff, so.
What side of the
So
where we find out.
that's become a little bit of an issue.
Let's just say he was a
was he
Hitler
pro
buff.
was he pro statue or anti statue?
His
loves the
statue did
statue.
get torn down in Richmond, so yeah. It was there was the 70s were a different time. We weren't quite as thoughtful in our pursuits of naming children. So yeah, but my brother was named Kyle Meade, and so he was named after a Northern general, and he named his son Grant Thomas. I come from a military family too. My brother's a special forces operator, or now he's a special forces commander, and went to West Point. So there's a reason. Shit. We have like 5 generations of West Point. I think my grandfather, my great great uncle was crafted the New Deal. Like he was a very famous general in the military. Yeah, so we have people that fought.
How did you go?
And then you're just cutting hair,
and you became the Zohan.
I became, right. Wasn't he in the Israeli Defense League though? He was like,
I want to cut hair.
I love it. Yeah,
so your brother kills people for a living, and now teaches other people how to kill people for a living. You have other people in your family that have killed for a living, and then you killed yourself for a very long time for a living.
Yeah,
and now you're here.
Yeah. I was the only one that actually went to jail for anything. So that's the
true.
thing.
Yeah, they had a license to kill. You were just.
I never got the license, so
You're just poisoning yourself on a week-to-week basis.
I like it. Yeah, give us a little highlight reel of your life. I had the
this is like the kind of running
Jeb recently, and I thought just a fascinating story.
Yeah, it's like it's a very circuitous path. I'll just run down the early stages. So I grew up all over the place. My dad worked for General Motors growing up, so we moved like every 2 to 3 years. So I've lived all over the country, my whole life. I still continue to move about every 3 years since then. So growing up all over the place, kind of went to high school in Maryland. Ended up going to I studied opera all through kind of high school at Peabody Preparatory in Baltimore.
Another thing I didn't know about you.
Yeah, so I ended up going to college for, I was kind of torn between going for theater or for music. I ended up going to Nashville. I loved R&B. I wanted to be an R&B singer, but I was a white kid with the name Jeb, so I figured I'll probably go to Nashville. That's probably a way better shot for me than trying to go to LA or New York and get into R&B in 1996. This is before Eminem or, Justin Bieber or whatever.
I want to hear a couple bars.
No, I don't sing for free. So
I'll Venmo you. I'll Venmo
check
you
his
$6.
OnlyFans. Check out his OnlyFans.
Yeah, I have a subscription model for that. So after college, I was kind of wanted to go back, save up money, move out to LA to pursue acting and music more full time. Nashville kind of burned me out of music a little bit, so I want to get kind of back into acting more. And ended up bartending, which is a really bad thing to do for someone who's like, as my dad said when I got to college, he's like, yeah, your 2 main hobbies are partying and girls, and there's a lot of that when you start bartending at a nightclub at 21. So yeah, that was a pretty bad combo. I ended up running a couple nightclubs, got into that, bartended for years. I ended up developing a very strong affinity for vodka and cocaine, and then got to a certain age and quit drinking when I was 25 for a few years. And met my wife. We were dating, and she was kind of like, "Listen, like, I know you make decent money." I was playing in bands. I had a band. We recorded a record during the time, and I was working at bars at night. She's like, "You need to get a real job." So I ended up her sister's a hairdresser. My old roommate who introduced me to my wife was a hairdresser. So I went to hair school, figured this is awesome. I get done work at 8. I don't work till noon. I can go out and play gigs, stay out late, still get up, be fine. I get to wear cool clothes at work. It ended up being something I actually was pretty good at. And so in pursuit of that, I started kind of what became the path for my life going forward was I would just find someone who I thought was the best at what they did, and I would bug them until they taught me things. And so I found this hairdresser, a French hairdresser in DC named Luc Fouquet, who was probably the best haircut I've ever seen. So I went to study with him. Then I ended up going to New York, worked for a guy named Michelangelo, who was did a lot of session work in his salon, did all like supermodels. So I became kind of a celebrity hairdresser there, worked with like supermodels, did Fashion Week, did work on magazines. So pretty much at one time, like either my color cuts or styling could be seen pretty much in any magazine you picked up on newsstands anywhere. Kind of got to the top of that field, or where I felt like I was kind of moving to that direction. Had an incident where I did this big transformation of this supermodel. I cut all of her hair off, took her in this short cut, which was her signature look, was this long flowy hair. And this very famous hairdresser, who was about 80 years old at the time, took credit for it because she was on a photo shoot. He put out a press release in Women's Wear Daily saying that he had changed her whole look. I was trying to be cool and not like take pictures and do all this and promote it myself. And I just realized at that point that I was like, there's zero ethics, it's zero. So I decided to move into, over the period of time, got into training. So I found this way more ethical field of fitness.
Are we sensing sarcasm?
Just a little bit, right? Good, because I'm laying it on pretty thick.
Super ethical, non-lying field whatsoever.
But so I'd been getting, I didn't start working out until I was like 33. So long story short, in there, I still had an alcohol problem that kind of reared its ugly head and came back and forth. And I ended up going to a rehab for about 4 months when I was like 33, got out and started getting into lifting. So that's what kind of drove me into fitness. I mean, I'd always like played sports and was athletic, but lifting was never a really big thing. I was about 145 pounds, 150 pounds. I just decided I wanted to lift more because I wanted some more confidence and something to do. And so in the process of lifting, I ended up meeting a guy named Sean Heisen, who was the editor at Muscle and Fitness, Men's Fitness. We became training partners. I got really into lifting, got connected with the entire industry at the time, who was like, it's like I got connected with John Meadows and with Jim Smith of Diesel Crew, Smitty, who's just an amazing guy. There's a guy named Murph at TPS, Jay Ferrugia. Jay Ferrugia actually introduced me to Sean. So there was just like, and so when I saw you guys in Austin, I was staying at my buddy Sean's house. And so we were very close, and he just kind of taught me everything about training. I mean, I went out to get ice cream sundaes with him and Ben Bruno one night, and Ben Bruno is the one who convinced me to become a trainer. Like, he's like, why don't you just, get a cert? I'll talk to people, get you a job. So like I was really connected with that world. And then I was doing some stuff on the side and doing like fitness teching, which was basically like when you do magazines. And then I started writing articles for magazines like Men's Fitness and Muscle and Fitness and Flex, and started a personal training business, opened a personal training studio in Brooklyn. Started to realize as I got to know a lot of really great trainers that I kind of sucked as a trainer. But I was a good coach, right? Just not, I didn't know much about actual personal training. I thought I did, but I really didn't. Or shouldn't say training. I didn't know much about real hardcore science, like a lot of my friends do.
Like program development and kind of stuff?
Like program design,
like program
biomechanics.
Even design, like biomechanics, like really understanding energy systems, like things that probably are not super important, but like things that I felt that I should know better. And I started to meet people who were experts. And the problem with my personality type is I don't tend to generally blend in with and mix with people who are just kind of like doing what I'm doing. Like I meet people, I'm like, oh, you're the best at this. Cool. I want to talk to you. And then when you're like talking to those people, you're like, oh God, I'm a fucking moron. But I actually learned that I did know a lot about nutrition, and I understood like nutrition very well. So I kind of leveraged that and just started doing more nutrition coaching. Met Mike Dola, who I think you guys just had on recently. Yeah. And we just became really fast friends. I liked his mission. I liked what he was doing. And I was like, dude, and I sent him a like audition tape they were like hiring people. He's like, wait, you want to work for us? And I was like, yeah. He's like, done. He's like, come on, let's go. And so worked for them for a while. and just saw some deficiencies kind of in nutrition coaching. And then I just kind of branched out and moved into my own thing, which I still don't really know how to define. I mean, I got my national board certification in health and wellness coaching just because I needed something that I felt, first of all, that had an ethics rules that required me to keep up a certification that's also board certified, like medical board certified. It just felt a little bit more skin in the game. And and so I started developing kind of what I do now, which is a really kind of holistic style of coaching that works on the causes of the issues that come with weight management, and not the side effect, which is the weight itself. So my clients come to me a lot of times with the idea of weight loss as their goal. Weight loss becomes a side effect of what we do, though. It's not intentional. Weight loss isn't super interesting to me anymore. Like talking to people about their macros or numbers or things like that. Like it's not the kind of problem solving that I like to do. There's other people that do it better that are more interested in it, and I'm just not gonna be super invested in it, so it's not what I do. So I talked really fast to get all that out, so that we can move on to things that are kind of interesting. Because I find my story boring.
Yeah, that was super boring. I yawned a couple times.
Do you want to just end the episode now, or I mean, that's
great.
It. We're good. That was perfect. That was your audition tape.
Yeah, sweet, awesome.
No, I mean,
so now we'll let you continue the interview.
Actually, this is the problem too with like this. Is I'm like, oh, so I want to hear what you guys have. Like, I want to hear what you guys have to say today. What are you guys going to talk about?
Nobody cares what we have. Nobody fucking people listen to us ad nauseum at this point, and they keep hearing the same drivel.
Yeah, at the 35-minute mark, they'll get a monologue from Aram.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah. You'll say something that'll trigger, and he'll get in the zone. He'll get in the zone.
No, this is my third podcast today, so I'm zoned out.
Are you serious?
I'm checked out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I would be too. I'd be.
I did one this morning. I did one in person about an hour ago, and I left you very little in the tank for this one because I care very little about both of you.
Good. That's
perfect.
I expect nothing less.
Who did you do it in person one with?
Krista Huber, my client.
She lived down there, or is she visiting?
No, she's in Jersey, but she was here visiting Kendall, and she went and met with Chase Tuning, and they did another podcast there. We're just fucking name drop. We know guys. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to know anybody in the nutrition or fitness field, we know them all.
Funny. Like I feel like I don't know anyone because I don't know anyone that's. I don't know anyone that's like
everybody.
I kind of know. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know influencers. You just don't know any influencers.
I don't know. I don't know who they
matter.
are.
You know people that matter.
We know people that have actually shaped this industry. We don't know people that are capitalizing off of it.
Yeah, I only know the people that I like. So like, or I like, because I just like, if I don't like people, I just ignore them.
Let's use the word tolerate.
Yeah, okay. Right, because I'm still questionable about Jimmy.
Exactly.
I know.
I'm still not sure about that guy.
I'm trying. I still think he lied when he said we connected right away on his post. He's like, we connected right away. I knew because he was blah blah. I'm like, he's just saying that. He's still
saying that. Well, they
wondering.
They ate a meal at what looked like a sacrificial lamb table.
Multiple meals.
Remember that table that we ate at? At the conference.
It was
and
this
you're pretending like we didn't kill a child to eat there. We passed around the adrenochrome to everyone afterwards.
Absolutely.
That's how we know everyone.
Yeah, it was all crowded. So we ended up finding this conference room to eat that nobody's in. And it's a round table, but there's no center to the table. So it's literally like the letter O. And you're sitting around and you're just waiting for like something to come up out of the ground, raising up somebody that's going to be sacrificed. It was.
Well, the best thing was that we're all like, where should we eat? And Sean's just like, first of all, I'm just going to grab a plate and start making food, even though they haven't even like decided to open the food up. And we're going to take our plates and we're just going to go sit in a random like booked conference room and eat. Yeah. Because why not? Who's going to stop us? And I was like, God.
Yeah, he totally. We'll have to make sure he listens to this. He totally used his wife for that when he's like, "She's pregnant. I got to get the food."
She's pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, I would never do this otherwise, ever.
Yeah. Of course, he grabbed his food. He's like, "You're on your own, honey."
Yeah. Then we all followed suit. No problem.
No problem. Done. And we had a great conversation.
It was awesome.
We heard about Jeb's backstory a little bit, and what I think is really unique about the way that you coach people is that you're doing the soft skill stuff as a hard skill. Like you're doing all the soft psychological mental work that people want to learn how to do, but it just doesn't come innately to them. You've actually learned from some of the best. You've learned from Lisa Lewis. You're connected to some of the best people in the space, but you also have your own unique spin on it because you've had so many fucking trials and tribulations yourself. So you're able to connect with people on a much deeper level outside of just like sets, reps, and fucking macros.
Yeah, and like So my again, coming from a background of like alcohol, like I also, when we talk about like, because people in fitness that don't understand addiction, and they don't, I'm gonna try and do this to not like offend.
No, offend as many
Feel
people
free
as
to
possible.
offend. Just say, who cares?
I mean, I'm
So
offensive.
so a lot of people in fitness, like they claim to be evidence based, but they don't really have a whole lot of critical thinking skills. So they like read something and they like pin those two things together, but don't really understand them. So like when someone says like, "Oh, sugar's not addictive," because everyone say, "Oh, like no one's out sucking dick for sugar or whatever." It's like, well, yeah, because
I have.
Sugar's available.
sugar's available, it's free.
Exactly.
It's
I hate
like,
that.
it's like, and so like, and people are like, well, you won't die from not doing sugar. I was like, well, guess what? You won't die from not doing cocaine. Like a
Yeah.
behavioral addiction is not driven
Yes.
by the physical dependency. It's driven by a behavioral thing, right? It's
Yeah.
your head. So it's the dopamine reward cycle. It's all of these things that occur. And so they think like, oh, well, that's not addictive. It's like, well, you don't understand the difference between addictive and dependent. There's plenty of people that are physically dependent on opioids. There's old grandmas that if you took them off opioids tomorrow, they wouldn't go kill someone to get Percocet. And we saw that with a lot of people that returned home from Vietnam, right? There was a lot of people that used heroin that were physically dependent on it, came home, couldn't get it, and were fine. There was other people that had access to it, and we saw a huge heroin problem in the inner cities on the East Coast when they started bringing back heroin from Vietnam, right? And opium from Afghanistan.
Shout out American Gangster.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's exactly where that came from. Air America, also the CIA helped a little bit too. I'm getting that away. But hey. But so I think when people see that, right, like, so there's something like that. So I also, in the advantage of having that background in addiction, I've never had a weight problem. Like I said, I was like 145 pounds when I started lifting weights. So I struggled to put on weight. I mean, I shouldn't say I struggled. I have pretty good genetics. It wasn't that hard for me. Like I have to say too, it's like people are like, oh, my transformation. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't super hard. I just ate a bunch of food and lifted weights, and like genetically, like my brother played, he played sprint football at West Point. Again, he's a special forces guy. My dad was a Golden Gloves boxer and played basketball at Duke. My uncle played, Division I football. Like pretty like
Good
genetically.
And you sang
like,
opera. It's okay. And you sang opera.
Yeah, I sang opera. I did musical. I did musical theater. Like, yeah, I was a hairdresser.
Yeah, I want to hear the
So
rest of your family.
the rest of my cousins. No, the rest of my cousins are lawyers. The rest of my cousins are lawyers and gay. Like it's like I want to talk about. It doesn't make any sense. I'm the straight one, but I got all the. It's wild. And also the hair salon. The hair salon I worked at in New York in Meatpacking District was called Michelangelo's Wonderland Beauty Parlor. I was the only straight male that's ever worked there. There was like Barbies hanging from the ceiling. There was like glitter everywhere. I mean, it was like, I remember hearing clients whisper to Michael and be like, I don't know how to tell you this, but he's straight. And he's like, I know, he's our diversity hire. It's okay. Like it was like people were worried that maybe I was tricking him. He's like, I know he's straight. It's fine.
He's
good place to access good drugs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was sober at that point, so I was still drinking, but no real drugs at that point. So unfortunately,
unfortunate.
There was definitely a lot of drugs.
All my gay friends are always the ones with the best drugs,
especially in New York City and like Chelsea Meatpacking District. Like, I mean, that was a party crew and super fashionable. Like, yeah, so. But yeah, so that history of addiction, I went to like rehabs. I mean, I probably have like $200,000 worth of education from rehabs, right? Like, because there was one in particular that I went to for 4 months, and I was actually the subject of a documentary that never got picked up, thank God. But they paid for it. It was like $120,000 for this rehab trip, right? And I learned a ton. But that's how I relate to my clients who can't understand why they have struggles with food, and so to further that, that's where I started working with Lisa. We started working. My mother also is a psychologist at Hopkins, or she just retired. And I started working in this, especially dialectical behavior therapy became something that I use because it's a skills-based approach. And I remember talking to my mom and saying, hey, have you ever utilized this? She's like, yeah. Was that
one of your posts?
Yeah, so it's like motivation, right? So that's, a lot of talk about self-determination theory. But in DBT, I asked my mom, I said, have you used this? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'm one of the only clinical directors on the East Coast she's like, I studied directly with Marshall Linehan, who created dialectical behavior therapy. She's like, I went up to the Bronx for like 2 months and studied with her. So that was one of those things where I'm like, oh God, like I tried to avoid this my whole life and I've just become my mother. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, but thank God, and especially because if you didn't go down that path and you didn't choose this way to do it, then there's not a lot of good help in this field. Like,
Well, I think
it's
I would
not
have been bored.
well that, and I think that the person that you are is somebody who's always trying to get to the pinnacle of everything you're doing. So you were the best bartender, you were the best club promoter, you were the best hairdresser, you were the best trainer, and now you're going to be the best at getting people to reduce their self-limiting beliefs and believe in themselves enough to fix their eating behavior. So that specific post I thought really was interesting, because even I think Jimmy and I are guilty of saying this stuff a lot, which is action never precedes motivation.
Yeah, that one was that I really did enjoy that one, because I get it, and it's sometimes it's just words that we use, because I say all the time action precedes motivation, but the way that you flip that to talk about what motivation really is, and it's true, like if people can figure out their why, that is the motivation, so therefore the motivation does precede the action. And it was just a different spin on these words that we use so commonly. I really liked that post, and I was like, motherfucker.
Well,
So
even
again,
I always say action precedes.
even what he said, stop feeling bad about your inability to just do the thing. Instead, figure out why you aren't.
Right. Right. And so, first of all, I will preface all these things that the reason I say that it's dumb shit that people say is because I've said it. Right. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really self-aware. Like, I understand, like, almost all of the things that I am passionate about is because I've been guilty of the same things. Right. Like, so that's why I find it really important to say these things over and over again.
Share that one for people listening about the motivation, the root
So,
word.
Yeah, it's just that, like, there's a thing that people say in fitness, and like PhDs who like know about psychology, I've heard them repeat the same thing, and I understand why, because they're just using words improperly, but they're using it for the audience. But I think it does the audience a disservice. But people will always say, like, action precedes motivation, right? Like motivation doesn't matter. You need to just take action, and it's like, the word motivation, the root word is motive, and that is reason for doing something. So motivation is the reason for acting. So if we don't, and so what I come back to is, like, we can go back to, like, the first person in modern history to really talk about motivation theory to start it is Darwin. And it's like, why do we evolve? Why do animals evolve? There has to be a reason for that. And it's not that action throws them into that, right? It's like, so something as simple as, why are we bipedal? Well, because we can walk further distances to get food, so that we can get more energy, so we can procreate more and make smarter animals, which are our offspring, which will then procreate more, which will take over the evolution chain, right? We didn't start walking in order to, like, the action did not precede the motivation. The reason for doing that is what started that evolution. So the same thing with when you want to do something. So people always come back to this, well, you don't need motivation to brush your teeth. You're like, because it's so ingrained.
Yeah.
Right? You brush your teeth. First of all, when you were a baby or when you were a little kid, did you just start brushing your teeth?
It's a battle.
Right. You've got kids. I don't have kids. I remember my parents having to hold me down to, like, brush my teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at some point, though, it's ingrained.
But that was in high school for you, so it's a little different.
Dude, so not kidding. Like, I've got some weird quirks. I can't hear or see someone brush their teeth. It'll, like, shut me down. Like it's like
gag, or just
like I'll seize, like, no, like
nails
I get,
on
like,
a chalkboard.
Like nails on a chalkboard times
wow.
100. It's like if I I won't room with anyone really ever anymore. Like, because, like, even like on trips, like if someone goes to brush their teeth in the bathroom and, like, walks out, it's like I cover my ears.
He's
like,
no.
Straight up, like, really. Like, if I'm watching TV, I like that too.
So the opening presentation at the Real Coach Summit is going to be
It's
all
gonna
of
be
us pulling out a toothbrush and brushing our teeth in front of
Like,
each other and holding them down while
like,
we do it.
When I see people who, like, walk around and just, like, will brush their teeth just, like, in a normal daily activity, like, you ever see someone who's just, like, walking around? I look at them like, dude, what the fuck? Like, it's like
You might as well be
instant rage.
masturbating.
I would rather see someone just masturbate in public fury. I actually have lived in New York City for 10 years, so
That was
I
normal.
love that he lived in New York City, and the thing that bothers him the most is people brushing their teeth.
yeah. Well, stepping over human feces, not a big deal.
No.
Someone brushing their teeth in front of me freaks me out.
Yeah.
Trigger.
But yeah, so when you brush your
It's so
teeth, you do it
distracting.
because you don't want to be a social pariah, right? You don't want to walk out and have shit breath and have no one talk to you. So your motivation is just always there, and it's so ingrained. And so I think that was the point of that post, and it's something I hammer on, and I always
Well,
encourage.
the key too is the inspiration that we confuse motivation and inspiration kind of thing. And like, and that was a great point. You know,
and inspiration is just external motivation. The goal is we want to take someone. Yeah, or like David Goggins, right? Listen to David Goggins and people are like, oh, I'm motivated. It's like, you're not. I mean, yes, you're externally, you're pumped up, but in 10 minutes, that's gone.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like you talk, Aram and Jim, you guys both talk about like identity, right? If you identify yourself as a healthy person, that's an internalized motivator in which you are going to be able to drive into action. And even on days when you don't want to work out or you don't want to do the thing, you're like, I'm going to do it because that's just who I am. And that's what a real habit is. So I think, and that's something I really try to impart. And I pick on fitness professionals a lot just because
it's fun.
Well, it's easy. It's easy.
It is. And I shouldn't. I really shouldn't, because I really am trying to be less negative, and I'm getting better.
It's also, I think it's also because you're empathetic of the consumer. And these people are saying these things, and you're like, I know that your intention might be good, but these are the kinds of things that actually end up making people feel bad. And these are the people that you're working with, and you hear these stories and you see it. So I don't hate on what you're doing or hating on that stuff, because you're just exposing, you know, the way that it could be perceived and the potential negative effect it has on someone.
Yeah, and I think that is my main concern. And again, I don't know. I always try and think about if it's effective or not, but thinking of that in those terms is like, it's like, so I always encourage people like, hey, just go, like, I'm always like, there's a Wikipedia on self-determination theory. It's really good. It'll lay out exactly how motivation occurs, how people are motivated. And self-determination theory is the preeminent. And I've had people like, you know, big names in fitness where I'm like trying to explain to them that they're wrong about the understanding of motivation. They're like, whatever, it's just a word. Da, 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 da. I'm like, I've seen 800 posts you've made about how toning is not a thing. Don't tell me it's just a fucking word. Like,
great point.
Yeah, and
language
it's like
matters.
It does, and especially when we're talking about, again, if we thought that everyone could just do a diet for 12 weeks, be fine, but we know that most of the people I work with have been dieting for 30 years and have not seen long-lasting results, right? And they have disordered eating, they have a lot of issues. And so we think we're just throwing around words because for us, like, you know, I mean, everyone's a little bit disordered in fitness in some way, shape, or form, but it's not like, we know us, like, there's definitely people I think out there that have, but like most of us, it's like we throw the words around, it's like whatever, it doesn't. But when you're talking about people who have 30, 40 years of dieting history and they internalize all these words, there's little things that we say that can really be, I don't want to say damaging, but over time, it's just like you're building up. Like and you're building up the pennies in there. Yeah. You know, I heard a great, maybe it was a meme or something. Someone was talking about Girl Scout cookies, and I just bought Girl Scout cookies that same day. And this was like a few months ago, whenever they were selling them recently. And I was guilty of this thing, which I didn't even think about. But I went up and bought the Girl Scout cookies, about like $5. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to, you know, $5. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to eat these. This is going to, you know, here goes 10 pounds. And this woman had made a post and she had said, like, think about the fact that every single woman that walks up and buys these makes a joke about how she's going to gain weight and how she shouldn't be buying these. And that 8-year-old girl behind the table is selling these, and she's hearing that and she's internalizing that eating cookies is going to make me less worthy of it as a person. It's like,
fuck. Yeah, that's shitty. And that's, you're setting, but that's something, that type of very slow drip trauma that occurs over the course of that messaging, receiving that messaging constantly, is what I think. I mean, most of the people I work with are women. Women are coming to me with those types of identity issues because they heard it at such a young age. It wasn't directly directed at them every single time.
No,
it was just shit that they heard in passing that just eventually stuck as part of their internal environment. So we know that intrinsic drive, or whatever you want to call it, is how we get ourselves out of this mess. How do we get people to go from being focused on extrinsic motivation or validation or inspiration and get them to start thinking more in terms of what's on the inside and how their health actually is being impacted?
So within the framework of self-determination theory, we know that there's 3 components that are necessary in order to move someone from external motivation into internal. Those 3 things are autonomy, competency, and relatedness. So within terms of autonomy, right, the person has to feel like they're self-directing their behaviors. So any little thing, like let's say you're in a training session, right, and this is a simple test of autonomy. Like, you're not going to say like, okay, do whatever you want, right? But you might say like, okay, we're going to do arms. Do you want to do hammer curls, or do you want to do cable curls? let's do cable curls today. Okay, cool. They're taking an active role in their training, right? Same thing with like nutrition things, like giving people some options. And as they build their competency, which is their understanding of the topic or their skill set, well, then we might be able to give them more autonomy, right? We get to start to spread that autonomy. And as each of those grows, they start to internalize those activities and behaviors. And the relatedness might be a community of like-minded people, or it could just be that coach-client relationship where they feel safe and they feel there's a place where they are heard and understood. So that's how we internalize that, right? Now, the question is, how do we get people to identify? Well, that's the golden question, right? Like if I had that answer, like you guys wouldn't be talking to me for free, that's for sure.
Wow. Fuck you. Bye.
I'd fly you guys out here in my private jet and we'd do it in my recording studio, right?
Now
we'd meet in Vegas in March. Oh wait,
yeah.
Do that anyway.
We do that.
But yeah, so I think in there, like I have my thoughts and I have my theories and I have what I'm trying to develop. And I think in about 5 years, I might be a little bit closer. I've got about 5 years of this model under my belt. And I think in another 5, I'll be a little bit closer, and then maybe another 20 and I'll have it nailed. We'll see. But like my thoughts is we really can kind of develop this overarching value. But I think the biggest part for me right now is starting to have people understand that one of the big moves I've changed is the non-pathologizing behavior. So we talk about all the time about how foods aren't good or bad, exercise isn't good or bad. It just is, and it serves a purpose. Yet when it comes to behaviors, we really quickly talk about bad habits and bad behaviors and bad. But what I've come to realize is that again, when we talk about motivation, every behavior has a very good reason behind it. We as humans we talk about self-destructive stuff. We're not self-destructive. We're actually self-protective. Yeah. So when someone is a binge eater, they've developed that to protect themselves from physical or emotional pain. Yep. And so when I started to look at things like that, I started to say, okay, well, that behavior was a good behavior at the time. It just no longer serves you. So how do we start to take that, and we can't extinguish that behavior. We can't take that part of us and just stuff it in a box because it's too strong and it's gotten us to where we are. So when we try to do that, it just comes back. I always talk, my clients luckily are old enough that they get this reference. But I always think about like Ghostbusters, right? Like I'm like, don't think about anything. And then it's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is like walking down, Fifth Avenue, and you're like, oh shit. And that's them. They're like, I'm not going to think about food. I'm not going to think about food. I'm not going to think about food. And it's like,
well, it's like in AA. I mean, that's one of the steps, not thinking.
Absolutely.
Don't think about not drinking. Think about God. Turn your attention to something else.
Yep. Turn your attention to something else. So in that's a perfect example. So what my clients in the middle, if they get to catch themselves in the midst of a binge, we're going to try some kind of distraction techniques. But long term, we're going to work on trying to kind of parse those parts out that we feel are no longer serving us. And then instead of trying to push them away and bury them and take them out of our lives, we're going to start to try to embrace them and see if we can just redirect that energy, right? Like the kind of Bruce Lee, be like water. It's like, if I can, fighting against it is just going to push, and it's going to be it's going to win eventually. But if we can kind of take it and walk beside it and work with it, it gets a little hippy dippy sounding. But I found that that's really the key. It's, and again, I talk a lot about acceptance, right? That's the first.
I was just about to ask. Is that not one of the most crucial components?
That's part of that DBT. That's that DBT kind of thing, like accepting your life.
It's kind of everything. There's so in DBT, there's a thing called radical acceptance, and so the big thing, but even within there's a couple of other cognitive behavioral therapies that utilize like acceptance commitment therapy, acceptance-based therapy, both very successful in the weight loss field. Like there's a couple of studies that was done. I think it was ACT that saw the greatest long-term weight loss of anything, but it was still very very heavily coached. And so again, it's still the most successful weight loss is not really as successful as clients think successful weight loss is, which is also a big part. But I think of acceptance as is the start, and you say, I accept where I am and I can change. Not but and, right? Like, and so people think of acceptance as passive, but it's very active. Yeah. So it's very proactive, even of being like, you want to talk, you would talk about like responsibility and accountability. you have to take responsibility from that point on, right? Like what happened to you is not your fault. Everything starting today on is now your responsibility because you've said like this is the reality. And again, you come back to AA, there's a lot of good. I was never a big 12 stepper. It was kind of too depressing, but there's a lot of really good shit in there.
Yeah.
And one of those things is like admitting, you know, they say you have to admit you're powerless. It's like, so people are like, oh, but if someone's like, so if you have a client comes to you and be like, well, if I only would have started 2 weeks ago, or I should be here, or I wish, I should, I could, you're like, that's not acceptance. Like, yes, all of those things could have happened, but guess what? And I tell my clients this all the time, and I don't think of myself as a tough love person at all. I think I'm very empathetic. Like, but like a lot of times, like, oh, tough love, because they'll be like, yeah, so I should be, and I'm like, that's awesome, you should be. Guess what? No one fucking cares. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you realize that what you should have done or could have done or would have done does not matter. It's not reality. Let's start with reality, and then we can move forward. But until we like actually accept where we are, then we're just playing in like a fake playland.
Yeah, that was like I had a post about play amnesia with yourself. If you woke up today and you remembered nothing from your past, and this is what you're dealing with, what would you do? You might like where you're at. You might not like where you're at.
Yeah.
And you're all those old stories that you've been telling yourself, they're all gone. What would you do now if you wanted to change what you're dealing with? So it's not quite acceptance. It's more ignoring and forgetting and blacking out. But it's a similar concept of just accept from here on, move forward. You don't have those old stories anymore.
So I kind of think that's just a great way to approach life in general. And I think of like, you know, all great religions or all like things, we talk a lot about this idea of like, there's always a thing of rebirth. Well, guess what? Every day is an opportunity for rebirth, right? Like we don't have to like today's a new day. You get to choose what you do today, and you can sit there and base the entirety of today on your past. But guess what? Again, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's like the converging road. It's like, what's the difference between a tragedy and a comedy? Well, a tragedy is just when the story just keeps going the way it was going. A comedy or a triumph is just when there's still all the tragedy, but the person elevates to another level, right? And so it's like you have that. And again, there's always confounding factors, but today, if you don't base everything on what happened yesterday and you don't have the guilt and shame and deal with that, it's amazing how freeing that is.
What would be some of the first things you're doing when somebody reaches out to you, they're saying they want to lose weight, you know that there's more things that you're going to have to unpack. What are some of the first, I guess, assignments you could say that you're giving them?
First thing we do is we take a little survey. It's like Strength Finder. So I want to find what their strengths are, what they're good at, and what the things maybe that they're not as great at. And I want to take those things and I want to look and say, like, this is the kind of person you are. I look at these things. I'm like, oh, this person's very caring, giving. And we talk about how that affects their work and their relationships. And that's really where we start. And so I kind of want to do that with them first to kind of develop that piece, and then be like, you know, you're a super compassionate person. You're always giving to everybody. No surprise that you don't have anything left for yourself, right? And so how could you expect to succeed in what you want to do when you have yet to apply your strengths to yourselves, but your career is going awesome, your relationships are going awesome because you applied all those strengths to them. And then after that, what I do is called a values-based assessment. So a values-based action plan. So we talk about action, right? Like I still want to create action because that is really what matters, right? Is when people start to take action. And so we set up like kind of their main value, overarching value. And within that, we start to develop goals. What do those goals look like? But those goals have to be aligned with that overarching value. So everyone comes to you, right? They'll say, what's your value? Well, I value health. And it's like, no, you don't. We all say that, like, but really, is it like how, like think about all the shit we do that's
we value pleasure.
Right. Or we might value balance, or we might value, authenticity, or we might value strength, right? But then your goals have to match that. So if your value is authenticity and your goal is to lose weight, but it's for vanity reasons, or it doesn't match with what you say it does, right? Then that's not going to work. Yeah. But let's say, how do we find like that weight loss? And then what I do is like, let's develop some actions, and those actions are all process goals, right? Like, again, it's dumb stuff, right? Like, get to the gym twice per week. Like, I don't care what you lift, I don't care what you do. Like, can you get to the gym twice a week? Cool. We get that down. All right, that starts to become a thing. It's like, I don't have to worry about that anymore. What's the next one? And so I have them come up with 3 goals that match on that value, 3 habits or actions that fit under each of those goals. And basically that's their plan, at least to start, right? It's always going to change, but that's the plan. So what did we do there? We created autonomy right off the bat. So they are in charge of the next 6 months, right? They have laid the framework for that. And I'm going to hold them accountable to that because I didn't make those actions up.
you
I
did.
didn't come up with those goals. That's theirs. But as they start to develop those little habits, guess what also happens? Then we get competency occurring. They start to get good at it. And so my theory, and actually this isn't my theory, I'm going to take credit for things that way smarter people came up with. Skill acquisition is what builds confidence. So if you think about like, why was Michael Jordan confident? It's not because he's cocky. It's because he was good. Yeah. He knew that if he got the ball 9 times out of 10, he was going to hit that shot. But when he was 10, or if I put him in an MMA fight, he's not going to be confident because he doesn't know how to play. He doesn't know how to fight.
Yeah. People think that they're going to have a lot of people. I feel like they think they're going to lose weight and that's what's going to give them the confidence, but it's not. It's what they did in the process 100%. To lose the weight, the skills that they developed, showing up for themselves, pushing through those hard days. That's what builds the confidence. So you're not going to ever have that with an instant transformation. We could liposuction all your fat out of you. We could do all the plastic surgery. What was that show they did years ago where they brought people in and they did like massive plastic surgery?
That was the same producers that put me in the Ultimate Makeover. That was the same producers.
Ultimate Makeover. Yeah.
Same producers that paid for my rehab. Yeah, that was the documentary crew that did my rehab. Yeah.
Yeah, and that show, it's like these people were struggling after that.
Yeah.
Well, it's no different. It's no different than the trust fund kid who gets all the money handed to him and never has to fucking do anything. It's always that pursuit of the thing that builds the competency, that builds the skill sets, that builds the confidence. Versus if you just fast forwarded and just got to the end goal without any work involved, you're not going to appreciate it because it came too easy. B, it's just as easy to lose as it is to get.
And you live in that fear of losing it because you didn't develop the skills and the actions and the habits to know that you're going to be able to maintain it. You're going to live in constant fear.
Nobody's going to take it away from you if you earned and accumulated all of that effort over time and watch that take shape under the worst possible circumstances, mentally and physically. Now you have this level of like, holy shit, I can actually do this.
Yeah, and I think you also become less attached to that end result, right? Like, all of us work out all the time, and we go from varying levels of like super in shape to kind of not as in shape, and it's like, it's like cool, like, but it's like whatever. Like you're not broken up about it.
I just had that conversation with a client yesterday. Exactly the same thing. It's like we're gonna go through the seasons. It's not always gonna be perfect. Like she's chasing these few pounds, and she's already like in great shape. And her life has been crazy the last year, so it's, hey, this is how it is. And I told her I was 15 pounds less a couple of years ago and I kind of let things go a little bit, but I still have my stable of working out. It is what it is. When I want to dial it in, I can dial it. It's like exactly what you just said. We have these ups and downs, but other people don't, I think, see that.
Well, and I think you have to, because they don't understand, like people like, I'm like, I was like, I could get abs right now if I wanted to. But I just don't care.
Like exactly.
Like it's just not like I don't feel like putting that amount of work in, and I'm totally okay with that. Like every once in a while, I have the thought in my head, be like, and then I'm like, my wife's like, hey, we make pizza every Friday night. I'm like, I'm fucking. I was gonna say, I don't want to not eat.
2 weeks into the cut, you're like, I don't want them that bad.
Well, Jim, let me ask you this question because I think this is important to distinguish between the people that are making those decisions actively, right? Like you have an intention behind what you're doing. So you decide to eat pizza multiple nights per week or on a Friday night ritualistically, and that's your thing. In the meantime, simultaneously, you're also accepting that comes with the consequence of not getting to that ideal or to getting to a nicer or better physique.
Yeah.
So you're
under no illusions.
You're living in both worlds. I think there's a lot of people that live in those separating words in those delusions where they're like, well, I could do this and also have this.
Or why can't I? Why can't I do that?
Why can't I? Because there's no acceptance.
And they're also getting fed that on social media as well. You can lose weight without cutting out your favorite things. Yeah,
right.
Well, you don't have to cut it out, but you have to cut the portion down. You got to cut the portion down.
Yeah, and it's technically true.
Which then it's not enjoyable anymore.
It's correct. It's like my favorite thing is like, and I'm just as guilty as everyone is. Be like, carbs don't make you fat. And like, what do I do when I diet? I just cut my carbs. I just cut my. I don't eliminate it, right? But I cut them down. Like I was like, I've worked with bodybuilding prep. Like I have friends that are like pro bodybuilders. When they get ready for a show, guess what? They're like, they're not eating many carbs.
No, I mean, I was 50 grams a day.
Yeah, Danny. I was with Danny again. And I was like, what was it you were at? She's like, I was like, you were like 800 calories. She's like, well, you didn't count calories. She's like, but yeah, I was probably below 800 calories some days. She's like, I literally like, she's like, there was vegetables that she couldn't eat because there was too many calories in the vegetables. And it was like, and that's Olympia prep, right? But like, that's the reality of the situation. And like, she's 5 foot tall and probably carries more muscle mass than all three of us combined. And so like, can you imagine like us eating 800 calories?
No.
Do you know what that would like? Yeah.
So I ate 1,000 for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like that's it. Like if I get more than 3,000 calories, I'm like starving.
That's why you're fat, and this is why I have zero. This is why I have zero self-confidence, and usually want to commit some type of self-degrading act to myself at the end of the day because I get this type of reinforcement from my podcast partner.
That's what friends are for. Is like
that's what we're there for. We gotta keep.
So just anyone who's listening is like, fantastic. This is the things that we are doing. This is like this is bad coaching. Don't do this. Like, this is funny for us. Don't do this. It's not good.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. Have that pizza, you fat fucking loser.
Yeah. When we were in Austin, I was like slipping candies and stuff in his mouth while he was sleeping. Yeah. Like
that's why the scale went up.
Yeah, 1,000 calories of M&Ms. I just put them in his mouth and they just melt in his mouth. And then I would just do more. I mean, I was very sleep deprived just to sabotage him. It was awful.
That makes a lot of sense because I came back like 6 pounds heavier. I'm like, I didn't eat much and I did blow. What happened?
Were you up 6 pounds?
Yeah.
I was actually down like 3 pounds.
Yeah, because you throw up after every meal.
It's a great way to lose weight.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, when I travel, I tend to eat really well because I do not want to have any gastrointestinal discomfort. It's not worth it. I'll just
but I was going to Austin and I was like, I have 2 main focuses in Austin. I'm getting barbecue and I went out and spent $180 for 2 people with barbecue, but it was freaking good.
Did you go to Terry Black's?
Terry Black's, yeah. I got a beef rib is essential for me. If a barbecue place is like a great barbecue place, a beef rib is. But I had that and I get tacos. So I got tacos one night. But yeah, like I travel, like there's certain things. But again, like so, yeah, I have pizza every Friday night. But every single like we talk about, like I have probably some issues.
Yeah, what are the 26 meals outside of that pizza look like?
Right, my breakfast every single day on the way back. I go to jiu-jitsu every morning at 6 a.m. On the way home, I drink a Core Life or not Core Power, like the
Light?
Fairlife.
Coors
Light. Okay. I used to drink. It used to be like a bottle of Smirnoff coming home at 7 a.m. No,
mixed in with ISO Pure protein whey isolate.
You joke like I have like this like I have a bunch of guys that all summer at Fire Island, and they all like rented these houses together, very really wealthy dudes in New York, and they would always talk about like they would get there and like to stay on their diet. It was like protein and vodka, like protein shakes and vodka. It was insane. I was like, oh. But yeah, so I for breakfast I have like I have a protein shake and a protein bar on the way home, and then I do whatever on workout days. I'll have my ground beef mixture with rice. On non-workout days, I have it with a tortilla, and then I'll have another like meal somewhere in there. And then I have dinners, kind of whatever, but it's always like some kind of meat, some type of vegetable, and some type of carb. So yeah, like my food is really, I don't want to say boring because I enjoy it, but it's very consistent. So I don't weigh or measure anything because I just am eating the same things every day. When I say I don't weigh or measure it, it's that microwave cup of rice from Costco, right? I do actually weigh. I put a bowl, which I know is like 10 ounces of ground beef mixture with vegetables, and the tortilla is pre-measured. So like I technically probably am, but it's like I just eat the same things. And if I want to eat less, I'll just eat less.
Yeah. So how do you combat that you had another post that was talking about novelty and how novelty could be one of the biggest detriments to success and progress. People feel like when they start going down this road of improving their nutrition, that they're going to lose all of these options that they have available to them versus understanding that you probably don't need all those options anyway.
Yeah. So the novelty thing is because I was reading Kierkegaard, and there's a big like thing. And so I don't listen or read or anything about fitness or nutrition or anything. Like I read philosophy and psychology and listen to podcasts about philosophy and psychology because that's my interest. But like, so Kierkegaard, he talks about that like this idea of novelty is kind of what destroys people. Like that boredom is kind of the answer. And it's not that boredom is the answer. It's learning to live it and so again, one of the big themes that I talk about too is like life is not lived in the peaks and the valleys, it's lived in plateaus. And so that we think of that as boring, but that's just life, right? And if we try to live in a constant state of excitement and novelty, well, we start. And so like when I talk about quote unquote nutrition, it's really, I'm talking about my philosophies on life, and I just kind of collate it down to fitness, but it's the same. And it's all these things are just like microcosms.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I think about novelty now, also Lisa Feldman Barrett has a great quote that novelty is expensive. Like, we also don't realize that brain power is metabolic. Like, the largest source of metabolism, like, it is a metabolic engine, right? It is constantly burning fuel. When you take in new information or you try something new, that is expensive in your brain, which is really, really good for cognitive, to prevent cognitive decline. Not really great when you're talking about trying to be better about consistency, because every time you introduce something new, it's like, oh, I just ate up a big old chunk of something. It's like, you know, it's like I think about like someone like Mark Zuckerberg or Einstein.
Yeah.
Like, these guys all dress the same way every day.
That's what I was
right?
just gonna
Why?
say, wearing the same
Yeah.
stuff. I wear the same pants every day. They just have different colors, and sometimes I wear the same color and the exact same ones 3 days in a row. I don't give a shit.
I mean, I'm gonna get to the point where I just start buying the same everything.
Yeah.
I just like, it's just
It's
easier.
easier.
But it's across all the boards, right? And so, and again, I think to your guys' point earlier is that, but they're still being fed of like, you can have all these things. It's like, well, you can. It's just gonna be a lot harder. And if you're dedicated to just losing weight, like if you're in an intentional weight loss phase, again, I don't really work with people in that world anymore. But if you are, like, take 12 weeks. You know, you can go 2 on, 2 on, 2 off. Like, you can do diet breaks every 2 weeks. We see in the evidence that it's just as effective as dieting all the way through, right? But like, do something that is consistent and a little bit boring, and I promise you, it'll be like way easier afterwards because you can start to reintroduce those things.
And how do you handle when somebody's saying like, I'm just kind of getting bored, or like, is there anything, because they start to develop some of the habits, like, okay, how do I accelerate this? What are you pumping the brakes for them?
Well, again, when someone's like, "Oh, I'm getting bored with the habits," like, cool. It's like the habit's a little harder. That's it.
Just change stuff up.
Like, let's turn it up. Like, you know, again, like, are you gonna blow your load right out the gate? No.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I can make this harder.
Well, that's when isn't that the essentials of habit stacking? Like, you start here, then you accelerate it, then you intensify it, then you dial up the knob a little bit more, and then and that's what I always make recently I've been making the analogy of, like, if you get a raise or a promotion at work, you're probably going to get more responsibilities, more things to do at work. So it's going to come at a price. So if you lost 30, 50, 70 pounds and you still have another 30, 50, whatever to go, you're not going to use the same tactics. You're going to have to maintain the old tactics to then build on those to create new ones to get to the next level.
Yeah. And if you've lost 30, 50, 70 pounds, you also have to probably sit back and be like, okay,
this is pretty fucking good.
Yeah. And like I've had clients who like have maintained 100-pound weight loss for like the last 3 or 5 years. And they're like,
that's awesome.
But they're like struggling. And I'm like, I was like, so let me I'll let you understand. Like, and some people, they lost it before they ever came to work with me, right? We're working on totally different things. I'm like, just so you know, you won, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is not normal. Like, you won. So like anything else is just gravy at this point.
Yeah.
Like people don't maintain 20% weight loss.
No.
Let alone like 30 or whatever, you know? So it's insane.
Yeah. And kind of looking at it like, hey, where you would expect an addict to relapse. Don't be so hard on yourself if you're relapsing, you know, in this weight loss journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have to eat.
Jeb, can you make the distinction? Because I think that a lot of our listeners don't understand actual clinical diagnoses of certain psychological issues like binge eating and stuff like that. So make the distinction between overeating and actual binge eating as a disorder.
Yeah, so we talk about binge eating disorder. Like, we talk about binge eating disorder, we're talking about like kind of almost a lack of loss of consciousness in a sense. So
yes.
We're talking about people who are like, they're kind of I don't want to say like completely detached, but there comes a place where you're eating, you can keep eating past the point of fullness, and often accompanied with purging, right? That's where we start to see bulimia nervosa, which is now people make this miscalculation of like, oh, you have to be really skinny to be anorexic or bulimic. That's not actually the case at all. Like, you can be bulimic and still be overweight. And in fact, it happens a lot. And then the binge eating disorder are, you know, people, you know, the misappropriation of that is always like, the person's like, oh, I barely eat. And everyone's like, yeah, right, whatever. And it's like, no, these people often don't really eat. I'm seeing a lot of binge eating, you know, and there's a gray area between what's a binge and what's an emotional eating episode. So I characterize much of what I do in the realm of emotional eating. I don't work with anyone who is active bulimia or active anorexia. Binge eating is something that is a gray area. So there's a lot of times that's okay. Almost all my clients have a therapist that they work with. That's kind of partially my requirement as well. But within binge eating and emotional eating, you'll see people that do not eat, and I see a lot of cross diagnosis with people who are being diagnosed with now with adult ADHD. So there's a lot of like attention aspects that go with it too. It's just like everyone's like, the first trigger is like, well, you just didn't eat. And so once that binge eating starts, it's almost uncontrolled until they are well past the point of fullness, to the point of feeling sick. And then they become, that's when the shame and guilt kicks in. And then that leads to restriction, which ends up leading to another binge. And these cycles tend to last for weeks, days or weeks. And so that's usually the big difference there.
And I think that's an important distinction to make, because I think our clients don't give themselves enough credit, because they'll say like, oh, I ate the whole bag of chips last night.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, did you throw up afterwards? Did you feel like absolute garbage, or did you just go to bed and say like that was it?
I wonder if some people would feel worse. Like, I was conscious the whole time. I didn't black out in the middle of this.
Right.
What I did is even worse than binge eating. I mean, somebody could have that perspective of themselves.
Yeah, and they're probably going to, right? And so that's where they have to understand is like, well, understand that like once this occurs, even though it might not be binge eating disorder, it's still going to be an emotional eating episode that you just don't have the skills. They think they should be able to control it. Well, you don't have the skills yet. Yeah. So then we have to work on skills either to stop that binge or that emotional eating episode in the moment. And again, that's where I talk about distraction techniques. So a real easy one that people can use with any of their clients is like, if they find that a bowl of ice water, dip your face into it, it creates what we call a dive response, and it changes your like nervous system response very quick. Or if you are at work, an ice pack on the back of the neck can kind of stimulate that as well. Exercise, HIIT, like has been very like well documented to kind of interrupt that. So I tell people like, shit, if you got to do burpees, this is the one time I'm going to advocate burpees. Like, do burpees in your kitchen, right? Getting on the spin bike, going for a walk, like separating yourself from the environment. Those aren't long-term solutions, but they're good. They're good like solutions in the moment.
Like pattern interrupts.
Yep, absolutely. Pattern. Any kind of thing that interrupts that pattern is going to be a in the moment type thing.
And then do you think that as far as the long-term solution to that problem, do you think that those pattern interrupts are strong enough to be able to create that consistency in patterning to get that person to stop?
No, you're going to have to identify those. Yeah. So in order to reduce the episodes, you're going to have to start to identify the episode itself, be able to describe it in detail. And then what we want to do is we want to work back and find what that trigger, the vulnerability factors are and the triggering events. So a lot of people will be like, oh, I just ate this bag of chips. Like, okay. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know. I would just like ended up eating it. It's like, well, let's look back through the day. And I'll be like, oh yeah, well, I noticed that I was kind of tired. I didn't sleep well last night. Maybe it's like, I'm premenstrual. I tend to be hungrier. And then I got, took like, little Sally to daycare, and I always use it because this always seems to be the problem. And the asshole parents in the pickup line were like, cutting in front of me or whatever. And I got pissed off at Joan down the street, and then I got home and my husband was being a pain in the ass. And so like we started to be like, oh, so it wasn't about the chips, it's about this other thing, and I'm eating to deal with that because I'm not dealing with that. So we start to identify those things and how can we start to deal with it. So this is not a quick fix, but we start to identify those things and explain them and deal with them on the long term. And we use those interrupters in the meantime to keep that from turning into the fuck it's, where it's just we've all had that. Starts on Thursday and then it goes till Monday.
Well, the fuck it's, to me, I think are something that can become intentional. Like I truly believe that like once your relationship with food improves, you can strategically, like one of my favorite things to do sometimes when I'm just like saying fuck it, is instead of having an actual dinner, I'll literally just order pop chips, Stacy's fucking pita chips, and like some chocolate and candy and stuff like that. And that will be my dinner instead of getting like Five Guys or pizza. Like that's what I'll eat because I love to snack. But that's an intentional, singular situation in which I have control over it.
Yeah. So, but I would say that's not really fuck it.
Right. So I'm labeling it as the fuck it's because I know I have meal prep in the fridge. I know I could be eating the beef and rice and shit that I normally eat. Right. I just don't feel like eating it. I'm intentionally eating something I know isn't going to serve me. I know comes at a price and a consequence that I don't feel like paying tomorrow, but I will. So how do we distinguish people from having what I would consider to be like the intentional usage of fun foods versus them having actual no control of it.
Say the
and
guilt
just
and
doing
shame
that.
behind it. I
Right.
think if the person has like a guilt and shame behind it, then it needs to be addressed. And if they don't, they're like, no, I'm fully aware. I felt good about it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I felt like shit the
Well, I
next day
also think
physically, but
I think the word you put in there determines all of it. It's intentional.
Yeah.
And as long as we do everything with intention, we can never really be upset because
True.
you've thought about it. Like anything. I can't think of a single thing in my life that I've done with intention that I've been. I mean, shit. Most of the things I've done without intention, I'm not upset with afterwards. But if you think about like anything you do, if you think about it and process it, and you're like, I want to do this, I'm going to do it. Cool. But if you're sitting there going, "Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it," and then I still do it, well, then it's not cool, right? Then you're like, "Well, what's wrong with me? What is it?" And you're like, "I just have no control," and like, "Oh, I'm not disciplined enough, and I've got to be more." And then you start running down that rabbit hole. But if you're intentional, and I think that's a word that I use with clients a lot, and they're like, "So I'm going to Thanksgiving dinner," and I'm like, "Cool." Eat, like, first of all, if you want to like think of this and like not go crazy, just be intentional. Sit down, make a plate. Think about what you want to have. Do you want, like, I have a client who's going out of town. He's like, we have this dinner. He's like, I know that it's going to be a steak dinner and I want the cheesecake afterwards. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
And he's pretty new to this. I'm like, so what else might be the dinner? He's like, well, they'll have mashed potatoes and gravy. And I'm like, is there anything that you could change? He's like, well, they kind of send this stuff. I was like, do you have to eat it all? Or can you ask for it? And he's like, oh no. He's like, they'll have vegetables. I'm like, so what about the mashed potatoes? He's like, oh, I guess I don't need to have those. I was like, right. So like, and so I was trying to get him to come up with the answers. Like, you want the cheesecake, so you're gonna eat the cheesecake. So like the simple thing might be just offload the mashed potatoes. Like, oh yeah, and I'll have like Greek. He's like, I love Greek yogurt, so I'll eat that during the day. I'm like, cool. Like you've made intentional decisions, nothing to worry about then. And same thing at like dinners. Like you go, you make a plate, like it's intentional. I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna have this one dessert. It's like you might be eating more quote unquote calories than you normally would in a meal, but you've done it with intention, so it's fine. And maybe the scale goes up if you're someone who's intentionally doing weight loss, then and it's up for like the next day. And then you just get back to your normal routine. It goes right back down. Yeah. But I think, like to your point, if it feels out of control, that's when it tends to snowball and just go.
Yeah. So when you have those people who, they start to kind of figure out those triggers that are happening throughout the day, then once they start to identify that, then we're really starting to work on what skills can we do in that moment. Yeah. Is that what I'm reading with what you're saying? Like now in the moment, we're doing some breathing or whatever it might be versus letting it build up, getting to the end of the day. I want to eat all this shit. Now here I'm going to use my skill set.
Yeah. So like exactly that. I think about the strategy of that. Like, okay, so we started to note that at 4:30 p.m. when the kids are come home is when things kind of build up to a head. So at 4 o'clock, can we do a little simple breathing exercise? Maybe that's when we have our afternoon snack so that we have some food in our stomach so that when everyone comes home, we're not irritated, aggravated, and getting to that point where we want to like cope with something where there's this part of us that's like, hey, I want to use this thing to feel better. Right. And that, like in a lot of my clients that they're just trading food for alcohol. Like, I've seen shopping. Yeah. I've seen, obviously gambling. Like there's all kinds of behavioral things that people will do. So yeah, it's just like, but exactly to your point, Jimmy, is like, what can we do to preload, right? Like, it's pre-fatigue a muscle before you're going to work it so that you like hit that chest a little bit harder. It's the same thing. It's like, let me pre-fatigue that muscle so that it doesn't go in there. And I tell people one of the things that we have to worry about too is like, there's the two modes, right? Is like when you're getting ready for that moment to come, you've got to be like, how can I center not, I'm getting ready. The kids are coming home. I'm gonna fuck that boy up when he gets like, I'm ready. My kids are coming home and be an asshole. Because I think, and there's a lot of my clients who have like kind of this adversarial relationship with one of their kids that just like likes pushing buttons. And it's like, I'm going to get ready. I'm like, dude, like the kid's 8. You're not going to, like, you think you're going to win, but you're not. Like, that kid's going to, like, you're 48 years old, dude. Like, that kid's got way more energy than you.
And way more resiliency. Like, once it's done, that kid's moved on. You
done,
go sit in the room, like, they've moved on immediately. They're finding something to play with, and you're in the living room steaming, brewing. This little fucker. And then he comes out, hey, I love you. And you're like,
God damn it. I can't be mad at you anymore. Well, I think that's such an important point is like children are truly blank canvases when it comes to emotional and just general resilience. Like they fall down, they cry for 30 seconds, they're right back up to doing whatever they did to hurt themselves in the first place. Yeah. Whereas adults, as we have this cumulative experience that's usually associated to something bad, and we carry that for the rest of our lives and we never let it go.
And that just
And
becomes the perspective on life. They're
that's just
looking
it.
for
Like,
the
this
next
just
bad
sucks.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's the thing that frustrates me the most about people. You know,
But it's also a great evolutionary tool.
yeah, but
Yeah,
you know,
it
we're
is.
not
Right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
like we
But then you're going to keep bitching about
evolved.
your life, but all you notice is the bad stuff.
Right.
Well, because yeah, but think about how that helped. Like, you know, if you're the caveman who's walking out the door and there's snakes and you're looking out for all the snakes, you're the one that makes it through. The one who's like, well, those people, they died. So
Yeah.
we bred ourselves into this.
Yes.
But you're right. So it's like you want to be aware of what can happen, but you also can't live your life that. And again, I'll always come back to that point you made earlier, Jimmy, of like, you know, if you woke up with amnesia, like today is a new day. So what happened? And that's the thing is, like, I'll talk to a client who says, I'm just so afraid of gaining the weight back. I'm like, what in your history says you're going to gain the weight back? Well, I used to diet, and I was like, yeah, but you've had this weight off for 3 to 5 years. So now the new history is that you won't gain the weight back.
Mm-hmm.
So you now have proof to the opposite. And each day is like more proof. And so now and that's how I think helping people build the skills and the confidence, like just letting them to start to realize those things.
Yeah.
I like that proof of concept idea. And I think that's definitely going to be something I'm going to speak more about. It's like every time you meal prep, you have proof you can meal prep. Every time you train, you have proof you can train. Every time you go on vacation, you have proof that you're going to come back and still feel just as good as you did when you left. So you have all these proofs in front of you. I just think the problem with a lot of people that I think the reality is a lot of people that consume our content are beyond novice.
Right. Oh yeah. 100%. There's everyone understands macros. They know nutrition. Like they've been on diets forever, right? They know all this stuff.
Yeah. So it's like for us, it's not that they are completely wet behind the ears with zero information and zero tactics. It's just that they are so hard on themselves for not being like that 100% of the time, which is completely unrealistic. There's nobody. I know people that walk around stage lean all year round.
Sure.
Not stage lean, but let's say like
close to it, 6 weeks out.
Let's say a dude is 10% and a girl is 17%. These are heavenly physiques.
Yeah.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, it's basically how Jimmy lives every
It's horrible. Fighting women off as like he walks out the door. There's just like paparazzi everywhere.
But like you build a life of balance because you realize that your systems and your ideals and your values are so strong that you'll never waver that far away from what your system is. If you have that night where you say, fuck it, I'm going to eat nothing but chips and candy, the next 16 meals after that are what you were normally eating. And then you have another bout of pizza. And then the next 20 meals are great. So people just need to build that confidence and know that they've proved to themselves they can do it. They just need to understand that if they're in a phase where they want to actively pursue something more, that's going to require more effort and maybe a little more sacrifice. And if they're okay with where they're at, then be okay with where you're at.
Well, and I think that's kind of where social media lets them down, or they let themselves down through it, because they then go and consume content that tells them they're a piece of shit for not sticking to it, right? Because that just reinforces that idea, and they're like, "Yeah, that's right. I just need to be more disciplined. I'm going to sign up for this person's program." And you know those coaches, because they're always the ones talking about how shitty their clients are. I'm like, I got news for you. It's not the clients. Like, like you telling them they suck, and like then they come to you, and you're like, I don't know why they like just don't do the thing I tell them to do. It's like, well, because you're just a bad person. But hey, whatever.
You have a dark soul. That's why.
The influence, like, there's so many influencers, and like, God, I mean, so many people I've met in some of these trips that I'm just like, wow. I was like, follow them on social media and go, you're awful. Like, you are a bad person, and you're probably making a lot of money.
Oh, I mean, the amount of people I know who probably make $100,000 a month, and they're just peddling bullshit all day long.
Just peddling eating disorders.
I had a call on the way here with a woman that was in a program of somebody that all three of us know, and she got passed off to a registered dietitian, and the registered dietitian basically said for every single check-in every 2 weeks was like, there's no need to change anything. You're fine. She's like, but I want this and I want this and I want to learn this. And there's like, no, you're good. Just email me your check-in, email me your check-in, email me your check-in. No support, no communication, no education. And this is what coaching is now starting to turn into, because they just keep wanting to fucking scale and scale and scale to these astronomical numbers without ever providing fulfillment for the people they currently have in their system.
I look forward to finding out that name.
Come to me. Yeah, oh yeah. I had a client come to me who when her psychologist had her go to a dietitian to work with, and this is a woman who has bulimia, like, and was, she binges and purges, and this dietitian said, I just want you to drink 3 shakes a day. Basically put this woman who has
Liquid diet.
bulimia on about. I did the math and I was like, she's putting you on, and she had binge eating disorder, which obviously binge eating leads to the bulimia. I was like, she put you on an 800 calorie diet, basically, restricted your food to the point where you're almost sure to binge, which is almost sure to lead to. And like, I was like, and I'm sitting here, so I'm talking to my mentor, who's a clinical psychologist. I'm like, I don't know what to do, because this is a psychologist who put her in touch with the writer's dietitian. These are people with actual, like, acronyms, and they are contributing to this. And I'm like, this is like fucking malpractice, but like,
close. But it is
terrible.
fucking malpractice. But
There's-
the problem,
there's so many
that's because
registered.
there's no.
Yeah.
No,
There's so many registered
no
dietitians.
support.
They're not coaches. They're just, you hear horror stories about a lot of them. And then they're the same ones that are like talking shit on nutrition coaches. Like, they're not a registered dietitian. They're just a nutrition coach. I have 1,800 hours of an internship. They took a weekend certification. They don't know jack shit. And then they're treating their patient like a lab rat, instead of actually understanding that the relationship and the conversations and the perspective shift, that all those things are so much more important than just telling people, don't eat this, eat this.
Yeah, and I need to preface, like, I do know some amazing registered dietitians. Like,
absolutely,
most of my friends that are RDs are amazing. But yeah, it's like anything else, as any other field, is there's good, and that's one of the things nice about having a mentor and a mother. They're both psychologists. Is I'm like, I worry about my profession. They're like, and so I'm actually taking a pretty in-depth psychology course right now. That's 6-month course, and a lot of the people in there will say crazy shit, and I'll talk to her. She's like, oh yeah, she's like, psychologist. She's like, there's a reason I don't have any friends that are psychologists. I was like, oh, okay, so a lot of them are crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's why they want to become a psychologist.
Well, yeah, there's 2 reasons we go into the things we do. It's because either we're trying to fix ourselves or trying to fix someone we love, pretty much. And being self-aware about that, like, it's good. It can be helpful, but you have to be able to detach. It's really, and that's, I think, for coaches that are listening, that's one of the biggest things that I always tell people is, like, you need to be, like, you cannot be emotionally invested in this more than your clients, or you're going to burn out. You're going to go crazy. You're going to lose your stuff.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about that recently, between like that line of what's the coach's responsibility and what's not. And like, you have to do what you can, learn how to connect with people, but you can't take it personal if they're not doing stuff.
Well, and also you just need to be empathetic, but you don't take on their problems.
Yeah.
Right. Their problems are their problems. Like, I'm here to help guide you, but like, and I tell people, I'm like, this sounds cold and heartless, and other people, I'm like, if people are like, oh, well, I did this, I was like, I really don't care. I was like, and I don't mean that in a rude way. I don't care. What happens to you or how your outcome is does not affect me. It does not affect how I feel about myself in the job I'm doing. Now, if I do something that I think is not beneficial to you or is harmful to you anyway, that's what I care about, right? I'm here to do no harm first. But if you end up going out and eating pizza, I don't care. Like, it doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't reflect on me as a coach or my profession or my identity.
No, you're not trying to please me. This is for you. This is a process that you're undergoing. Yeah. I have that conversation very often. It's like, you don't hire me as a coach to then try to placate to what I want for you.
100%, right? That's an early conversation, right?
Yeah. I want you to do things that you're driven by, that excite you, that I'm just here saying, hey, listen, there's a potential roadblock up ahead. Maybe you want to think about it, but you fucking drive the car as fast or as slow as you want. I'm not there to judge your speed. I'm just there to help you with the direction. And
to be like, you might be coming up on something that you haven't seen before, but I've worked with a lot of people. I've seen these things.
Yeah.
Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Well, I knew this was going to be good. I knew this was real good.
Yeah. But and for the people watching, he does not have a green mohawk. That's just a plant that's behind.
Yeah. So I have a plant so that all the
centered,
all the emotionally anyone who's emotionally dysregulated that looks at me is like, oh, he can keep a plant alive. Maybe he can help me.
That's a good point. I'm gonna put a couple of plants in my office.
Yeah, it's good. It's like, it's again psychology.
Hey, awesome. It's a natural air purifier if you get the right ones.
Well, I have to. I put that light back there is killing it, so I have to turn the light off every time. My wife comes in, she's like, "You're killing this plant." She's like, "Stop putting that light on." I'm like, "Yeah, but the light looks cool." I was like,
"Yeah, get a fake plant there, and then a real plant not next to the light."
Well, I wanted to get a what are the Japanese What are the little Japanese
Bonsai.
Oh, like a bonsai tree. Yeah.
But they don't really grow indoors. I was really depressed myself. I think that would look so cool there. Like it look really good one.
Yeah. And then have a picture of
like Zen.
Yeah, and behind it have a picture of Mr. Miyagi's son logo from Karate
I'm still so fucking traumatized by that scene when he's going down the side of the mountain and the guy breaks the bonsai tree in front of him as he's cultivating it. Like it makes me want to murder bullies, like just murder them blindly, and not ever. Like I always felt so much empathy. For
that's
Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, it's like when Mike Tyson's bully ripped the pigeon off the pigeon's head off.
Yeah, that guy got it afterwards though. He had instant karma.
Yeah, he did. I love it.
Well, Jeff, are you going to raise the bar or no?
When is that one?
February, right before like 3 weeks before mine, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm going to that because I bought 4 tickets that I'm going to be giving away, and I also am on the panel, I believe, unless Nick retracts that offer.
Okay. Well, after the last panel you gave, you might. At the Coach Catalyst one,
I heard
that was awesome.
that kind of hair. I didn't realize that most of those people were Mormon, but I'm very happy that they were.
Yeah, I know. It made it so much better.
So much better. Or the fact that at fucking Swiss, when Cav was like, I know that when you know somebody, you give them a gift that reflects their person. So if it was Allie, I would give her a penis-shaped thing. If it was a Rom, I would give him a bag of cocaine.
He said that.
I'm like, dude, like that's not my only interest in life. Okay,
it's just the only interest I talk about.
I like pizza as well, and dogs.
Oh, fucking Cav.
So,
yeah, I was with Cav this weekend, man. What a riot! Love that dude.
Fuck, I'd like to be an elephant in that room one of these days.
Yeah, so I don't know about Raise the Bar. We'll see. Because I'm definitely, I'll be at yours, obviously. And then it's January's. I don't know. Honestly, like beginning of the year.
I'm just trying to see when I'm going to see you next. It sounds like March, which is fine. It's going to happen very quickly.
I mean, I'll probably will end up going to Raise the Bar because it's like Dallas. I don't know.
You like Dallas? You like barbecue?
Yeah, well, I like Dallas. I just like Derek's out there. My buddy Mark. There's a bunch of people out in that like Dallas area that are all cool. So, I wouldn't mind going out there. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, if we don't see you in Dallas, we'll see you in March. And as always, this was exactly what we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you.
It was good.
It was awesome,
good talking
man.
to you guys again.
We appreciate you. And then a little this or that question for you.
Yeah.
Would you rather? Bye.